Yes, people, welcome back to the channel where Aston Villa are looking to make a move for Tammy Abraham. They're looking to bring the England striker back to the Premier League from Turkey. At the moment, he is at Besiktas Football Club, where he's doing okay. He starts games. Sometimes he's on the bench, but he's got 7 goals in 18 league games so far this season for the Turkish club. And don't forget, Besiktas are a very big club out in Turkey with Fenerbahce and Galatasaray. But Aston Villa are looking to get support for Ollie Watkins. They're looking to bolster their attack. They've obviously lost Donyell Marlon, who's gone to Roma on loan for the remainder of the season with an obligation to buy. But they're now looking light. You saw the performance on the weekend. You saw the drop points. You saw the result against Everton, losing 1-0 at home. But Aston Villa were poor. And look, it's such a weird notion with Aston Villa because when I've done football podcasts and they talk about Unai Emery and would you take him at Man United, I've always said no. I always feel like Unai Emery suits teams that the expectation is not really high. And look, forget where Manchester United have been. I'm on about just managing a club like that. When you go to Arsenal or Manchester United, Real Madrid, Barcelona, whatever, the pressure is just different. And I feel like Unai Emery always suits teams that are like a Marseille, a Villarreal, and Aston Villa. You're sort of trying to break into the barrier. Sevilla, you're breaking that barrier. Do you know what I mean? You're trying to be that guy that can disrupt things, win a couple trophies and whatnot. And what he's doing at Aston Villa is obviously a very good job. And obviously he should remain there. He's got them in the Champions League places at the moment, competing for, big honours in terms of, the Conference League. And I know, Europa League. And I know it don't sound like, oh my God, it's that major, but still, they're in Europe. Do you know what I mean? And when you look at it as Aston Villa fans, if they get to the final of that, they'll be loving it. So when you look at Aston Villa and going into the second half of the season, losing Donyell Marlon, that is a big loss. And you're going to get into the knockout stages of European competitions. You're going to be battling for top 4, top 5, because you're probably going to get teams like Liverpool, Chelsea, Man United that are going to slowly start catching you. You need squad depth. You need that ability to change games. And I think on the weekend, literally summarized that for Aston Villa. They had no impact off the bench. Evan Gasson had to come on for John McGinn. He's not really been great since arriving from the French league in the summer. I thought he'd be better than what he has been. Not been great at all, if I'm honest. And then you're looking at Ollie Watkins, now got to play 90 minutes. Morgan Rogers now got to play 90 minutes. John McGinn now injured. Jadon Sancho out with the flu. And you're looking at Buendia. He's got great moments in him. A very good technical player, but you don't get that consistency. You don't have the pace, the energy. And I look at Aston Villa right now, and they're lacking something. Even though they're great in the position they are right now, and I respect it, big up you lot. I'm not saying it's a false position, but I never think Aston Villa are great. I never watch them and think, oh my God, Aston Villa. They just get results. They find ways to win. Simple as that. And I respect it because as a football fan, you love that. And that's what you want from your team. But now you're entering the second half of the season and it's like tiredness will kick in. The lack of quality could potentially show. And I think Aston Villa are lacking that now. Leon Bailey's returned from his loan spell from Roma. And I think they need that. And I know Leon Bailey's injury prone, but when he's fit and available, he does give you something because he can take on a player. He can cut in on his left foot. He can create. He can score goals. I think Aston Villa need that. They need squad depth and they need Leon Bailey. But you also need more on top of Jadon Sancho, Buendia, and Morgan Rogers and stuff like that, and Gasson. I feel like you need some pace. You need some energy. And I'm not saying that Abraham's going to provide that, but I think what Abraham does provide is a focal point, a player that can score goals, a player that knows the Premier League, knows the English game. When we saw him at Chelsea in Lampard's breakout season, we remember how good Abraham was at the first half of the season. He was brilliant. And look, it's not quite worked for Abraham. He's left. He's gone to AC Milan. He's gone to Roma. It's not been amazing for him, if I'm honest. His goal scoring record has not been great since he's left. And he's now 28 years of age. And all of a sudden, you're thinking, wow, Tammy Abraham, who I remember coming through as a 19, 20-year-old, is now 28. Time flies. But for a striker, that is a player coming into his prime. That is a player that should be coming into their groove. They've learned the game. They've been at different clubs. They know what's good about their game. They know what they need to improve. And hopefully you're looking at trying to refine it now. And that is obviously what Tammy Abraham is looking to do by coming to Aston Villa, get them into the Champions League, come back to England, try and show what he can do now he's matured and grown up. And for Aston Villa, they need a players in. And if Tammy Abraham can stay fit and give them an option, I don't actually think this is a bad option. For Aston Villa right now in the position they're in, they've got a trusted coach, they've got a good foundation of players, but you're lacking depth and lacking players that also know the Premier League, and you need to get support for Ollie Watkins. Well, John Duran left last season. Donny O'Malley's now gone. You need something. You need an option. And I don't think you can't, as a loan option, it's not bad getting Tammy Abraham. I know people might think, nah, he's cooked, he's rubbish. I don't think he's rubbish. I don't think he's prolific, but I think at a Villa team that will probably give him chances, and he's physical, he's pretty tall at 6'3". You know what I mean? He can get in behind. He's mobile. It's an improvement. How you've got to look at it now, if you're an Aston Villa fan watching this video, is that does Tammy Abraham come in and improve the squad? Yes, he does. You don't have a second striker. You don't have someone that knows the Premier League. You don't have someone that's been to top clubs like Roma, AC Milan right now, who has scored goals in the past, and you guys have watched with your own eyes and know that he can, contribute. It's a no-brainer if it's a loan without a silly fee and stuff like that, or maybe an obligation that you must buy him if he plays a certain amount of games. Because one thing that's guaranteed, Unai Emery is going to play Abraham. You cannot play a 30-year-old Watkins Thursday, Sunday, or whatever it is. You need to give him rest. You need to give the team a chance to recover and maintain focus, because otherwise the wheels can fall off quickly. And let's not forget, Aston Villa probably lost one of their top 3 players for potentially the rest of the season in Boubacar Kamara. So they're potentially looking at a midfielder now. Onana's injury prone. Tielemans can't do it every game. Ross Barkley injury prone. McGinn now out. There's other players I'm potentially missing in there as well off the top of my head. But Boubacar Kamara being out injured, massive. What a player. Always in the right place at the right time. Interceptions, tackling, hard graft. Knows what it takes to be in that Unai Emery team. And I feel like he's the heartbeat in that midfield. The driving force. The guy that is just... He epitomizes everything of a rugged, hard team to break down, strong Unai Emery outfit. And I think that's going to be a big, big miss for Aston Villa. And now, are they going to look to go in the market for a midfielder? Because I think they're going to need to. I think you look at their team now, and all of a sudden it's starting to look depleted. You've got youngsters coming off the bench. You've got youngsters filling the bench. And you're going into the busy part of the season now where you need to win games and maintain a consistency and, deal with pressure moments, because you're going to have teams coming up behind you. Especially when you're losing results like Everton at home. So this is going to be a very interesting period for Aston Villa, but I think they need to get this Tammy Abraham deal done. I think they need to get support in for Watkins. They need to get a winger in as well if they can. Get Tammy Abraham in and get a midfielder. I feel like Villa need to be busy now. Like this is no time to be joking around. This is a serious part of the season, and I feel like Villa have got themselves in a great position that the board should be like, yeah, do you know what? Unai Emery's done a great job with the tools he's had. We need to now back him if they financially can do that. But let's see, people. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on the Aston Villa situation at the moment. Tammy Abraham potentially on loan. I think this is a move that needs to happen 100%. I think you need a winger, and I think you need a midfielder, because Kamara is a huge miss for the rest of the season. But let me know your thoughts, people. Big up. Like this video. Subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one.